Hello everybody, welcome to another video on the channel. Today is a different video from the usual weekly AOR League races. This is in fact a video of a time trial from Hungary, which is this week's League race, and has how I've been partly doing my preparation to try and get best possible result for this Sunday. So to start off, I'll take you through my setup. Really, most crucial things in the setup are the downforce. The diff is something that I've recently changed from how I do my own personal setups, and the weight distribution. Everything else is kind of different per se for every driver, but these things I think are fundamental to the way that the car will handle. So for front and rear wing downforce, I'm using 410 wings. This isn't what I would say is the optimized one lap pace for time trials. This is what I've decided to use for practicing ready for the race. In the social races, I found that I was down on straight line speed, and given that sector 1 is really the only times you can make any overtakes, reducing the wings can really help you actually stay in contact with cars and make moves down into turn 1 or turn 2. Then over to the transmission, I've decided to up the diff to 100% locking on throttle this weekend. I think it's one of those things where if you can get used to the greater traction but also quicker way in which it can break away from you, if you're not too greedy and you can control it, I think you can gain some pretty good lap time there. So then suspension wise, it kind of depends on your personal preference. This circuit has a lot of high-speed, constant load corners, so that's why we have the camber that we do. Then suspension, generally you'll find the stiffer front suspension and then softer rear is better. Same applies to the anti-roll bars. And then ride height for this circuit is probably slightly higher than what I would like to run, but because particularly in sector 2, some of those high curbs, you really don't want to be running too low, otherwise you will bottom out and the car is incredibly unstable if it does that. Then for the brakes, the brake pressure in time trial you could probably get away with having up to about 80% if you can control it. I've dropped it down to 75% because I think over the course of a race the amount of tyre wear that you can get through locking the front wheels in particular, it can be very bad, so I drop it down a bit just to make sure that we minimise that as much as possible. And then 55% works quite well for me on the front brake bias. During the race, occasionally I will shift it up just a couple of percent because the rear can start to become a bit unstable, but for time trials and qualifying this will do just fine. Almost default tyre pressures for every circuit you go to. Sometimes you might find, like we do here, slightly down on the rear tyre pressures just to get a bit more tread onto the tarmac and get a bit more stability and traction at the back of the car. And then finally running maximum rear ballast, and really this is to compensate for that reduced downforce. So particularly in Sector 2 in the slow speed corners, you can get that bit more rotation on the car and you can lose a minimal amount of lap time and stay in contact with the people before getting onto start finish straight and trying to make a move. So with that being said, let's get into the lap. So starting the lap now, really want to try and get a good exit out of this final corner, and because it can really rocket you down that start finish straight, and you can make up probably about half a tenth just in that alone if you get a good exit. So opening up the DRS, and then really as we run down to the first corner, you're just trying to spot your braking point. You're looking for somewhere just after the 100-meter board, and then down into third gear, getting it turned in. Don't hook yourself too much over that curb, otherwise you will spin out. On the power, try not to get any wheel spin, and then down into turn 2. Braking just in front of the 50-meter board, down into fourth, and then into third briefly before back up into fourth, and then on the power as early as possible, and then we run it up to the end of sector 1. You see that we're just behind on a personal best. Sling it into that corner in 6th gear. It's really easy to run too wide there, and then you can see we miss the apex slightly there, but not too bad. 4th gear, not awful on traction. Then through a chicane, attacking the curves as much as you can, 3rd or 4th gear depending on your preference. Then these two corners you can really make up a lot of time trying to get yourself nicely tucked into that apex as possible. This corner, use that outside curve, try and sling your way into it. See, we're still matching our best so far roughly. And then tricky braking zone there. I use 3rd gear, you could use 4th, but just in front of the 50-meter board you want to brake. Then throw it into here, let the car do the engine braking, and then get on the power as early as possible, and into the final corner, wrapping it around on the power as soon as possible. Nice exit, opening up DRS as we cross the line to 116.8 dead, which as you can see is good enough for us to get 99th on the leaderboard, which I was quite happy with. Top 100, top 1% time, and hopefully in the future we can get some more decent time trial laps like that. So thank you very much everybody for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, let me know down below so that then I can bring you more content like this. But until next time, goodbye.